Welcome back to the SN podcast, Founder Frequency Series. I am Geet Gera, founder of AI SN Partners, where we help service based businesses and leaders grow using AI driven visibility and automation. The systems that get you found by the right people and get your time back. If you're building something in coaching, wellness, or professional services and want to see what that looks like for you, you'll find a way to reach us in the show notes. My guest today has trained leaders in 68 countries, worked inside 3 US presidential administrations on public diplomacy. She feels a crisis call almost every week, everything from custody disputes to corporate scandals, and is rebuilding her business model from the ground up for the Gulf. She is the founder, president, and CEO of Global Transformative Training Solutions, GTTS. Please welcome Renee.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you. Namaste.
Yvonne Renee, thank you for making the time. How are you doing today?
Actually, I'm okay. This is probably my break, actually, right now. I've been in the process of moving. So my entire house is upside down. And so a lot of things are happening, but I'm doing good. Working at the same time. You know, when you're a business owner, you have to balance it all. So it's all happening at once at this time of my life.
So let's start at the beginning. GTTS itself came out of merging your training work with Samir Ahmed's firms, and there is also Davis Intelligence on the crisis and strategic communication side. Walk me through how it's all structured today. What sits under GTTS now and what runs separately?
Yeah, so it was in 2004, I launched Global Transformative Training Solutions. And my dream was always, as I've traveled the world, to launch an international company that would focus on the Gulf region and any country really in the world. But I had a goal to launch a company in the Gulf region. And that came out of my Davis World Training company that does domestic training and even Davis Intelligence. And so, with that, with the Vision 2030 they have in Saudi Arabia, the other visions that they have in the UAE, I thought it was a good time now because I have been going to the region since 2005, the entire region, whether it was in the Emirates, Bahrain, Qatar. It was just time for me to take that leap. And so I was able to take the trainings that I'm doing now in the leadership scope and the leadership space, and then this transferred over to GCTS.
Great merging of everything together into a international global platform.
Yes. And the thing is about it is that at the core of my businesses is communication, and they all thread together. And there's an overlapping. So it was just a matter of how do I differentiate the businesses, focus on the market, and be able to reach a customer base where they could appreciate that company. What I did with Davis World Training, I'm actually completing an LMS training platform of which I'll have the GCTS run through that as well. We do virtual training, but that's been the goal. And our vision is to, transform leaders and for them to go to the next level of success and empowerment. And so you're talking about your corporate, your executive, and your government, including the officials as well. The
Mhm.
training that we do for GTTS reaches to the youth. We specialize in women training
Mhm.
because there's been a tremendous effort to diversify more opportunities in Saudi Arabia. And about 35% of the workforce are women. So for them, they play a critical role in the economy. So I definitely have a focus in that arena as well.
That's great. So how long is now GTTS is opened? When it got started?
Well, we'll be 2 years old in
2 years.
December.
Okay.
Yep,
That's
we'll be
good.
2 years old in December.
Mhm.
It's the baby of the companies. Davis World Training has been in existence since 1998 in terms of the world training aspect of it. And then Davis Intelligence, Davis Communications, DBA, Davis Intelligence has been in business since October of 1996. So October 16th of this year will be 30 years. Yes. So, like I said before, I've been coming to the region since 2005. My first time there, I had just completed a training in Vienna, Austria at that time. And then I had went to Afghanistan and I was working there under President Bush to provide professional training and leadership and communications for the Foreign Service nationals or the locally engaged staff at the embassy there, as well as working with USAID. I was doing the training. And so in between my trip coming home, I actually had a 2 to 3 day layover in Dubai.
Mhm.
So one of my former students connected me with somebody on the ground there, showed me around. And it was more of a romance for me in terms of going to the Arabian Sea and just hearing the women laughing with their children on the beach. And I was wading my feet in the water and I had on jeans and a t-shirt at that time. I wasn't dressed in a abaya at that time, but conservative. And I just felt a pulling for the region in terms of the music, the sense, the sound. And so it's just a place that I found to be very magical. And
Con-
so I have this thing, I always tell other Arabs that I have this past life vision that I was a Bedouin in the Gulf, in the desert, in this romantic relationship with this Arab man and children making our way. I don't know where I get that from. I'm a romantic at heart. But the business opportunities came because I was also studying as well in a doctorate program in leadership. So at that time, then I had applied for the opportunity to present at Sheikh Zayed University for women on leadership. And I was able to talk about the dangers of leadership. So I presented there. And so I came back, I met the right people. I remember meeting my dear friend, she's since retired, Her Excellency Sheikh Alubna bin Al Qasimi, who was the Minister of Economy, the Minister of Foreign Trade, and she served several ministries. She was the first woman appointed by Sheikh Mohammed. And I
Mhm.
got to know her very well. So I used to call her Your Excellency Big Sister. She was just a wonderful woman and gave me a lot of opportunity to train her staff. I worked with her on the first annual investment conference for the UAE, working with the Ministry of Foreign Trade and also the Ministry of Economy. So I got a chance to really learn the ins and outs of the ministries, how they work. I'm very adept at the culture. So
Mhm.
I just felt a connection there. And so that's where it all began. And so then we fast forward to 2024, after partners at that time came together, said, let's do this trade mission when I saw it come across my email. So we applied, we were selected as the only training company out of Connecticut. And we did the trade mission in December, and that's how the process began.
Hmm. Wow. How, small dots connect and lead to a bigger mission.
Yes, yes. So, and so I've been to the region 4 times and the process of finalizing another partnership. It's not public yet, but I'm excited about it. And just learning the process I won't say it's been difficult, but there's a lot of ins and outs as a small business getting into
Mhm.
the region. There's a desire for American companies to be here, but there's also a lot of changes happening in the world now that just
Hmm.
the pace is a little different, but I'm determined. I've always been a person that never gives up.
You mentioned you have local companies there with whom you have a connect so that you have boots on the ground, and that's, bringing
Yeah, I
training
think that's
credibility for you.
I think that's the best approach. I mean, as an American company, we can't go in with the attitude that we know we're the all knowing. We're not. This is not our culture. This is not our people. We may have skill sets that are uniquely positioned,
Hmm.
but the people of the region have a lot of experience working with American companies, understand the culture a great deal. So it's a matter of coming in humble with confidence to see how we can not just only benefit our own company, but also what's going on in the Sheikh Alubna bin Al Qasimi region. It's a mutual empowerment
Yeah.
process.
Benefit them as well in a
Yeah.
right manner.
But so that's what it is. When I go into the culture, I never make assumptions about what it should be. I'm always in learning mode. Believe me, I have my confidence in my expertise and my know how and on what to do. But I also am a student at the same time because I'm always engulfed in the culture and understanding what's going on. I do wear a baya. I dress conservatively and I do just embrace and respect the culture, the religion, and their way of life. That I think that's important if you're going to be successful.
That's the right way if you want to work together with a different culture altogether.
Yes, and have a love for it because you find that even in Saudi Arabia, there are a lot of Asian Indians. They're doing key work, having key positions in ministries. One of my other partners, he is an American firm out of Seattle, and he's Asian Indian, and he used to work in the parliament in India. And he actually works directly advising ministries in Saudi Arabia. And so it's the same thing. So just understanding and engaging in the culture and facilitating. I think that's the key
That's
to
the key.
the foundation for success.
So Renee, you mentioned that through Davis Intelligence and GTTS, you handle a crisis call almost every week, everything from custody disputes to corporate scandals. Walk me through what that actually looks like in practice.
I think you have to do a lot of listening
Mm,
and you have to do a lot of acting. When I say acting, I don't mean acting as in like your actress, in terms of really coming up with a strategy while managing the emotions of the client, because there's a lot of twists and turns that take place. The case I'm working on now, there's so many twists and turns. And there's so many illegalities that are happening. And you got to make sure you don't get drawn into it because there's a lot of emotion behind it, especially when you know it's not right. And so the whole key is to get the client to be calm enough in their mind to make sound decisions and move in a direction that's going to get them towards a solution or towards some relief. In some instances, there's battles and there's wars, and it's just preparing the client if it's really something very serious, if they're looking to take on a system or a situation, just being prepared of what that fight looks like and how to navigate through it. And then there's other situations where people are there's preemptive situations where you see down the road that if you take this particular turn or if there's been a misunderstanding, how do we get ahead of it before it builds up and the ball rolls down the hill and gets a lot of speed. So I'm dealing on this situation at least weekly. And then there's others that it'll pop up and say, okay, can you help me with a strategy? I've had this situation happen, a communication glitch or mishap. I need to be able to work through it. And so part of my job is really to act and find solutions that are workable.
So there are two kind of calls. One is that who call you at the crisis moment, and one that who call you at preemptive to that into the crisis. And I hope you wish there are more people calling preemptively.
Yeah, preemptively, because people don't tend not to think in being preemptive or prepared. It's sort of like when you're training for a race or, people think you just run, run, run. But the reality is you have to weight lift too, and you have to do other things to build muscle to lead to endurance, and then eat well or eat sleep is probably more important than probably all of it when you balance it out. And so I think that in this context, it's important for clients to know about the what if. It's not projecting negativity, but you do have to ask that question and you have to be prepared for it. I also advocate for companies I've done work for or work with that there is training annually in the space of communications crisis and being up to date of what's happening. The biggest case study example is our social and legacy media right now. Everything that's happening in the US is a big case study crisis. And it's one crisis after the next crisis after the next crisis. Now, why one might say, well, that's not me. Okay, it may not be you directly, but there's some indirect messaging you can take from
Right,
it,
absolutely right.
especially when you're dealing with media.
Mm.
I had one client situation and all they did was avoid the media, avoid, avoid, avoid. But so the media decided to write the story. They wrote the story. It didn't come out the way they liked. Well, they kept saying no comment. That's like the curse word in the media training. You never say no comment. And but the minute you say that, that's you're giving them license to write what they need to write.
Mm.
So that's a challenge.
Mm.
And I've seen that happen and I've experienced it with clients. And that's why getting a hold of their emotions become very, very critical.
Then you don't realize it at that point of time, and later you see the after effects of that.
It is the after effects because you will experience the humility. Oh, I didn't say that. Well, you said no comment, or your answer wasn't the way it should be. And I actually will encourage clients not to go to the media hostile, even if you're right. Now, I'm not. It's my job. I'll go hostile to the reporter. Let me be the bad cop. Let me just say, listen, you're way out of line. And I've done that before with getting retractions or corrections or setting the record straight or showing proof that it wasn't the way you said it was and you don't know the facts. Or frankly, with a lot of modern day journalists, I'm not talking about the ones that have been around for a while and have some experience. A lot of them don't have the same erudition or understanding in the context of history or just understanding what type of questions to ask, because everything is more superficial and soundbite driven. It's TikTokish. So I'm not saying that for all reporters. So I don't want anybody going away saying Yvonne said the reporters are this way, but you do see a gap there, and it's generational in terms of the breadth and depth and awareness of understanding. And so I'm of a generation and of a belief that you have to be erudite and really understand what's happening. And so that what I still feel to be, I do still strongly believe that's a strength in the business that I run, is that I do have an understanding and with a lot of magnitude and understanding what is going on and what's at stake, and also understanding the history and the elements to it, as opposed to just being superficial and on surface.
As you mentioned about the gaps, also, you built the Apex leadership program for women, tackling
Mhm.
mindset and confidence before skills. What was a gap you saw that made that starting point?
I think one of the biggest gaps that women still have is imposter syndrome. I ran into a woman several years ago and she said that she didn't have imposter syndrome. But actually, some point she might not. Maybe she's to the point where she's not. But that same woman is now under a lot of investigation. But the whole point of the matter is that I think that a lot of women need to have the confidence. And when we start getting elevated, we start saying things like, I'm not sure why I'm here. I don't see it's not a big deal. And especially for women that are accomplished and that are more introverted, they have a tendency to want to shun the accolades, and they'll say, don't make a big deal out of it. And the whole idea of women is they should embrace their greatness and embrace what makes them successful. Don't say, I'll just take the corner office that's very small. And meanwhile, your subordinate has the office that's overlooking the city, who happens to be a male who feels like he wants to spread his wings and his space. I just want to stay focused, keep my head down, and work hard. And I think that's a big challenge. I do see more women, though, at the same token, being more confident, but you have to be confident about what you really know and what you can execute. And that becomes important as well, because it's still we're not in an equitable driven society when it comes to gender. And if anything, there's been some recidivism in that space. But I do think that's part of Apex leadership for women, is to I really dug into the, not just the fundamentals of leadership, but really started with the awareness of who women are as leaders and understanding the importance of having the necessary competencies, the necessary confidence, and the necessary awareness in how to lead organizations. Taking the skill sets that you already have, let's say it's in finance, let's say it's in project management, let's say it's in science, or the space of academia, and really building what it is to build power in that setting,
Mm.
or what for yourself. But also, too, what I have built in is the opportunity for women to empower other women. It's not just about the individual. It's about how do you build that structure that sustains you as a leader, grows you as a leader, but also others. Because at some point in your career, if you're there long enough, your time passes a different type of stage. Like at my age right now, as I look to go, I call myself Yvonne Renee Davis 2.0 in terms of how you remake yourself in your image. But I still look at in my generation, I'm the end of generation Gen X. How can I impact the Gen Z,
Hmm.
or the generations that are 1, 2, maybe even 3 after me?
And you have like a piece on democracy out with America 250, another national peace landing, and something coming for foreign affairs. What made now the moment to go in all in one writing?
So, yeah, I have 2 op-ed pieces. I have another one coming on for The Hill coming up. It didn't publish yet, but they're supposed to tell me when it's coming. And then I have another one for Foreign Affairs. I think it was important because I am an award-winning writer. I've won Best Feature Writer both from the New England Press Association and Best Investigative Reporter from the Society of Professional Journalists for Connecticut. And I've always written op-ed pieces. And I stopped writing for a long time in terms of myself, my voice. I ghostwrite for so many clients, op-ed pieces, speeches, key messages, key talking points, etc. But I just felt America at 250 was an important time to lend my voice in a different capacity. I'm trained academically in political theory and philosophy with an emphasis on also in international relations and comparative politics. And I studied a lot American politics and government, which required me to understand the framers of the Constitution, understand how American government runs. And it just forced me to really look at the polemics of where we are right now in this democracy and where we need to go. And so that's why I just felt a pulling towards now I need to lend my voice. And that's what I've been doing. So yeah, I've been writing like mad. I have another piece I outlined looking at the term limits for Congress and going back to the Constitutional Convention where the framers were in a room in Philadelphia with George Washington sitting up top and John and Madison and Hamilton and everybody there looking to pull together what would be in terms of building this country and the framework for that. And one of it was they were trying to address should they have term limits. And so I was looking at the Federalist Papers, number 53, and I was reading some others to see where that is. And I want to be able to tell the history of the past and bring it to the present, which I think most people, when they write, they don't do that. And so I wanted people to respect what constitutional history is about, but also talk about what needs to happen or what could possibly happen. And that's what's made America great in that context in terms of how it built its constitution and its government frameworks. And right now, it's a challenge. So that's what I've been working on. And another piece I'm working on is looking at the rise of a possible independent third party and
A lot of
looking at
writing happening now.
so I'm writing now from a leadership perspective and the work that I do. I do have a newsletter called Leadership Under the Lens that I have on LinkedIn. And I wake up based on my workplace experiences and just say, okay, I'm going to write about this. And so that's what I do. And so, yes, the writing has helped me to have a voice. It seems like more people read what I'm writing. They may not comment much, but I see that I get a lot of reads.
That is
And
good.
more follows.
Sure. And it's not just the writing space. You mentioned that you've actually built out your own AI stack, training ChatGPT, Claude, even a virtual assistant.
I do use
Know your
AI.
work.
Yeah,
So
they know exactly. And here's the thing, because I want to be clear, you cannot replace AI with your ability to think, to analyze, to strategize. I think that is the mistake that people make because the reality is I've had debates, plenty of debates with ChatGPT about what they're wrong about. And they're wrong. And I think when you are academically inclined, and I think that's the advantage you have, and I think that's an advantage I have, that you have to know learning frameworks, knowledge frameworks to have the right questions to ask. I do my own writing. I think the AI helps you with research, but of course, the whole big thing out there now is the deep fake or the fake research. No, you have to go do it yourself still. You still have to do it. You still have to correct things. And I think that, but in a business today, if you are not engaging in some sort of AI, then you are behind. You
you're
are
falling
already behind, totally behind, 100% behind. So
Mm.
I integrate about 4 to 5 platforms. Lindy is my AI secretary. She reminded me that you missed this morning. That's what she said. And so you need to get on track. And so, and I even teach it how to talk to me. So I have it alarmed, and what it does, it pre-writes the email. So I'll go to the draft box and I'll see all these pre-written emails that I didn't say send. But yeah, no, it's been very helpful to me in terms of the ability, the rate of which I can execute work. That's been
Mm.
very helpful. And even digging in history. I mean,
Mm.
I've read, let's say I've read the Federalist Papers multiple times, the books multiple times. However, what AI can do is pinpoint a particular sentence that I'm looking for, or particular research I'm looking for. And so that's been very helpful to me, and from as a history companion. And yes, from being in this space, you do have it interview you and get to know who you are. So
Correct.
I remember one time I
Helps with
asked,
the research to an extent.
but you still have to be someone who knows how to do it. If you don't, and that's where the deception comes in for students.
That's what they say, that AI is as good as the person who is, working on it.
Exactly. So if you have a student that's in college that just really doesn't want to do it or apply, or high school, they just, oh, ChatGPT will write this. Yeah, they'll write it, but it's not them. And my voice is an academic journalist voice, so it is that voice. But I also know what to ask, and that's what you have that intellectual inquiry that takes place.
Correct.
That foundation happen in undergrad and graduate school.
Correct.
Because I have several master's degrees. So in terms of the studying that I've had, I know the questions to ask,
Yeah.
and where to go. And I keep my books. As I was purging books, I kept all of my de Tocqueville, Democracy in America. I kept all those Plato. I kept all of those things because I love just the feel of a book, going back to the book and just saying, I remember when, even before they had something called AI.
Yes, definitely. And something you said, in the last discussion, that you're figuring out how to monetize in a different type of way and still working out how AI fits into that. If you fast forward 6 months and you've actually nailed, what does it actually look like?
To monetize?
Yeah, monetize or whatever you are looking for
Yeah,
in
I
terms of your goals.
think, well, that's going to look like what it's starting to look like now. I'm starting to get inquiries, which is good. I haven't been able to translate it because of the direct work I've been doing in that space, but I'm at least getting engagement. So I do
Mm.
believe that will happen. I do believe, like, even with the potential partnership that I'm walking towards very nicely in the Gulf right now, triggered from they're watching what I'm writing, my page, etc., my engagement in social media, what I consistently engage about or talk about, establishing myself as a thought leader, a strategist, crisis intervention, things of that nature. I think that helps. I have a social side on Facebook where I will post up social things, fun things. But when it comes to LinkedIn or certain things like that, I really keep it on the business angle so that they can see what's going on. So I think that does take time. I mean, you get a lot of salespeople saying, I can get you clients or get you. Yeah, that could possibly be true in terms of investing. But I definitely know the type of responses I'm getting, that being taken seriously and respected for your work is absolutely critical.
Correct. Absolutely. In zooming out, where do you want the group of companies to be 12 to 24 months from now? More Gulf partnership, the writing and speaking taking a big share, more TED Talks, something entirely different.
You know what? I'm going to say all of it, but a balance of all of it, because they all fold into each other. If you would, upon a successful partnerships in the Gulf, they have conferences, they have opportunities. That's going to lead to more speaking opportunities. So, and I think because of the technology, because there's going to be so many changes that's happening in technology, I will still be relevant. And that's key. And so I will be in countries 69 and 70 over the next few months. So I'm continuing on
That's a great
the
count.
journey.
70.
Yep. Continue on the journey. I'll be going back to Africa at the end of the year. I've been to 14 African countries, but I'll be going back at the end of the year and looking to engage in more business there. And so my diversification in business is very, very important in order for me to be sustainable for my business and my family, but also to just it being relevant. I think that's very important, because there are so many shifts. And as AI continues, if we don't embrace the technology, and I'll interrupt my thoughts for a second, AI is still not regulated. And it needs to be. And there's a reason why it's not regulated. We have to find ways to make our relevancy known in this market, and so that we could be sustainable. No longer can you do things the traditional way. You have to be engaged. And Also, too, because the attention spans of people are shorter,
Yes, definitely.
much shorter.
And ourselves, we don't realize that, by the time we are reading something, we're trying to kind of scroll through before we could even, consciously realize that.
Reading comprehension is going to be one of the top, it's going to be a bane of educational existence for this country because people don't, it's so visual. And that's why I still engage in studies, because you have to end, that neuroplasticity is critical in the brain. You have to keep getting the grooves in the brain. And
Mm.
so that, to those who do that, that's an advantage. To those who don't, then they become automatons in the society and just take what they get.
Right, right. And what's the biggest challenge that's standing between you and what you mentioned, your vision for yourself for the next year, 6 months to 12 months to 24 months is the thing that if it just disappears tomorrow, would that make the next year a lot easier for you? Anything that is there, blocking, challenge, constraint, whatever you can call it?
I think the biggest necessity is remaining disciplined and focused in what I have to do. I was saying to myself, as I'm moving, I said to myself, because I do self talk and affirmations, I said, okay, so I have to have more of a regiment discipline in when I wake in the morning, from the meditation to the workout to the weightlifting, engaging, and then disciplining myself in all these areas of spending appropriate times in those spaces and then establishing results and what that means. I don't think that I do the things I just said to you, but I don't do it in any particular order. I do it, but now let's structure a little more, a lot more in that regard, especially if, with impending work that will take you overseas and domestically. I mean, you still have to virtually check back into the East Coast of the United States 9 hours, 9 hours later, 7, 8 hours later, or up there behind us at that point. Just that type of discipline, I think, will become important. And then celebrating those wins. I think that's more self-talk. Yes, exactly. And really just saying to yourself that you got this, that you are capable, that you are powerful, that you are amazing. And I know people say, oh, that's just so foofy. It's not, because usually, I mean, Michael Jordan was the greatest because it was a mindset. They had recently had a Michael Jackson movie. I took myself to it when my niece graduated with her master's out of Denver. And I took myself there, and they had discovered in making of the movie, his nephew, Jafari, said they found all these manifestation notes, and he achieved those things. And I believe that how we talk to ourselves, our self-talk, what we write, and what we say about ourselves become a manifestation of who we become. And so I've
But
been
in the universe, we are planting the seeds.
planting the seeds, and you got to plant it with yourself first, because, and then when things get topsy turvy, you still got to keep planting that seed, because you have things that can throw you off. People can throw you off.
It could happen always to the best of the best.
Right. And then the other thing is fine tuning your relationships. Who really is in your kitchen cabinet? Who's in your inner concentric circle? That's, no matter, even if they're not in your career, they're in your corner, that can tell you the truth about yourself. But at the same time, they're always supporting you. I think that's absolutely critical, that it has to happen. And also, too, purging. You have to purge people that don't belong anymore. They got to go. That's hard for us, especially if you're an empath, if you're a giver, you're a nurturer, and I'm all those things. But what's happened to me, it can drain you, and it ages you, and it pulls you down. And so sometimes you have to say, listen, I forgive you, but I'm going to forget you. And I wish you well.
That's a strong message, Renee. And I'd say that, it sounds like you have had an incredible journey so far. And Renee 2.0 is going to be even more powerful, even more impactful. You have talked about wanting a real balance of time, business growth, and visibility. Hypothetically, if you had a magic wand to fix one thing in the business right now, something that is either holding you back or slowing you down, what would that wish be? Let's manifest it now.
More time to travel, to go to the world and do what I do best. I love being in the international space. I just love it.
Yes.
I would, yes. Well, just even to do business. I mean, for yourself to do business. I take my little hiatus times with myself. Even during the day, I do that. But I think that if I could wave a magic wand, I know there's only 24 hours in a day. I would love to spend more of my 24 hours in the world doing what I do best. Now, clients would say, "Well, what about us at home?" Of course, but you said if I were to wave the magic wand,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Agree. Get it.
it'd be more of a time machine to the future.
Yeah. And can somehow convert 24 hours to more in a day.
Yeah, so I would say that. I would say that right now because that's where my energy field is. But also too, that's why the creative elements, the creative energies have opened up in terms of writing is a form of art. So
Mm.
writing more, speaking more,
So it's so much liberating also because you
it
get to
is.
put your thoughts somewhere and then your mind is free. Otherwise, you sometimes keep thinking about certain things, and once you put it down on a paper, your mind is now free for them to
Exactly.
thought.
And I just,
Something in art that if you don't feel like writing, you won't write. You have to somehow feel internally to write. Then only you
you
can
do.
write.
Uh, I felt my mouth was muted for too long. And for personal reasons, as well for business reasons. And I said, no. That's why I started coming out. I said, no, this is my new phase.
So welcome to this new era and new version of yourself.
Yes, Yvonne Renee Davis 2.0.
Before we wrap, Renee, if there is a founder or a listener listening right now who is in exactly that messy middle you talked about, stuck, overwhelmed, not sure if any of it is working, what's the one thing you would want them to hear from you?
That they have to be blinded with their own belief in themselves. I'm not talking about arrogance. I'm not talking about narcissism because that's the other curse word people talk about. You have to put the blinders on and believe in what you have. Because if you don't believe it, other people, the peanut gallery over here, the little man on your left shoulder will be whispering over here. The naysayers that said, oh, no, you can't do that. You have to really be determined. And my father was talking to this morning, and he said, I remember you since you were 2 years old. We'd be walking to the grocery store, and I'd try to get you to run fast, but you would run a few steps and just walk all the way. By the time I got out the store, you would get to the store. And so the message is that you got to do things at your pace, even if there's an emergency, because I deal in crisis. So sometimes I have to write quick things, but I still slow it down enough so I'm still at my pace. And you have to move at your pace. You can't move at the pace of somebody else's rhythm. You can't be a slave to nobody else's rhythm. And that's important. And so by staying focused on that, you'll find your greatest leaders stayed really focused. And I would say that. And then the other piece, be grateful for everything that happens positive and even negative.
Never what the negative is going to result in
It's
for
gonna
a positive manner.
right. But you learn what is the lesson that you can take accountability out of. And that's been a big one for me. And believe you me, I've gone through a lot of pains, a lot of sufferings, a lot of different things. But now I just embrace it because people will remind you of that. But that's your past. So you don't have to hold on to that. So let that go too. That's the other thing. Let go of your past that has held you back. Stop recounting. Remember when if other people remind you of what you used to do or who you were, they're not your friend. They're not your corner. No. So, and that's staying the tunnel vision that's necessary. I hope that makes sense to your audience.
Makes sense.
And it's for men
Everyone.
and women I'm speaking to, not just women. It
Mm.
becomes important. So whatever your dream or ideas that you have, make it work for you. Build those relationships. Relationships still is your greatest currency. It's not that term that's what I'm saying is not a unique statement. It's been said before, but build solid, meaningful relationships, not transactional relationships just to have business. It might take a little longer, but once you make that connection, the opportunities come. someone knows someone who knows someone else, who knows someone else who can help you to do something else. But
Mm.
then be willing to be reciprocal in it and grateful. The worst type of business owner or person is an ungrateful person that takes it for granted that it's owed to you, because nothing is owed to you. You have to create it. You
Right.
earn it.
So, Renee, this has been a genuinely rich conversation. Where should people go if they want to learn about you and GTT?
Well, they could contact me, Yvonne, at the THEGTTS.com directly. They can contact me that way, email me that way. They could find me through LinkedIn, Yvonne Renee Davis. They can contact me that way. And I'm very open. So it's not that I will not reach back out to you. So that would be the direct way. You could look at my website, thegtts.com, for information. But if you want to contact me directly, you can. I look forward and I welcome everyone to come join me.
That's great. So that's this episode of the SN Podcast Founder Frequency Series. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.